Hey everybody, Alex the Critic here, and welcome to a holly jolly installment of Your Theme Song Sucks.
I can't watch this. TV makes me so bored, makes me say, oh my lord, what is this garbage here? Wanna cover my eyes and plug my ears. It sucks, and that's no lie. It's about as much fun as watching paint dry. Lowers my IQ one notch, and that's the reason why I can't watch.
Surprisingly, despite Christmas being arguably the most popular holiday of the year, there are very few Christmas-themed cartoons out there. Specials? Sure. Movies? Oh, out the wazoo. But dedicated cartoons? Those are very few and far between. That means the chances of these sorts of cartoons having bad theme songs are incredibly high, and fortunately, I've found the perfect one to roast for this episode. After all, what better way is there to usher in this merry, happy holiday than by being a bitter, cynical asshole who takes a huge dump on the hard work of kind, well-meaning strangers that he's never met before? You guys already read the title, so you should know how incredibly spicy today's episode is going to be. Let's get into it.
Oh, Santa Inc., Santa Inc., Santa Inc. What can I say about you that hasn't already been said by every other jerk-off on the internet? Well, for starters, this satirical animated workplace comedy was the brainchild of one Alexander Rushfield, a veteran TV writer and producer whose most notable work was a stint on Parks and Recreation, wherein she penned 22 episodes. It is the first and only cartoon she has ever worked on, save for the 2 episodes of George and Martha she wrote all the way back in 1999, which, hey, was the year I was born. It was produced by the fine folks over at HBO Max, the same geniuses who cut the classic Cartoon Network shows from their catalog in order to save money and draw in a broader audience. And now their parent company is getting bought out by Netflix.
Get what you fucking deserve!
What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Santa Inc.
Despite having some massive star power behind it, Santa Inc. would only last a single 8-episode season, and upon release, it was universally derided as one of the worst cartoons ever made by humanity. Yes, even worse than Teen Titans Go. The show was plagued by stale, repetitive comedy, a cast full of selfish, unrepentant assholes, and an uncreative, nonsensical story. Hell, even before the show was officially released, and all we had to go off of were the trailers, its producers could only add to the dumpster fire that was its negative reception by blaming it on white supremacists. Yes, really. This whole drama is the reason why I no longer like nor respect many of the people who worked on this show, which is sad, because Sarah Silverman and Seth Rogen were involved in making some of my favorite shows and movies of all time. Anyhow, for as bad as Santa Inc. turned out to be, the show did have a few positive qualities, chief among them being the animation and the music. Not only did the animators do a terrific job capturing the style and aesthetic of the old Rankin Bass Christmas specials, but the musicians did what all composers are supposed to do: supplement each scene with music that matches their tone and thus enhances their emotional impact.
So you would think a show that at the very least looks and sounds good would have a kick-ass opening for itself, right?
Wrong!
Alright, enough beating around the bush. Let's finally take a look at why this cartoon deserves to be covered on this series. Okay, so first of all, who are these characters, what do they have to do with the show, and what does this teach me about the premise of the show? Seriously, This show is called Santa Inc., yet I don't see Santa nor anything that could be considered corporate. Are these gingerbread men even part of the main cast? If they are, then how the hell does showing them having a snowball fight with one another teach us anything about their personalities or the basic plot of the show? Oh no, who in God's name are these guys? What relevance do they have to the show? And what's the significance of them decorating their Christmas tree? Is this opening trying to tell us that the show is going to be about the denizens of the North Pole doing ordinary Christmas things? Because it's not. Let me take a minute here to bitch about the background art of this opening as well.
All we get are pine trees planted in the snow, surrounded by fog, with the occasional snowflakes floating down the screen. That's it. That's all we get. For God's sake, the trees aren't even decorated in Christmas lights or anything. You know, in the show, the North Pole is depicted as being a pretty urbanized place, with loads of businesses, houses, and recreational spots, and yet none of this made it into the actual opening?
Just how lazy were these producers? Alright, I like the design of the penguins. They're very cute, but what is this supposed to tell me about the plot of the show? Is a huge part of it going to revolve around ice skating? Are these penguins even part of the main cast? Is the show going to be about how important it is to hang around your loved ones? I mean, come on! These basic questions shouldn't be going unanswered this far into the theme song. And before you ask, no, the final few seconds of this theme song don't clear up these ambiguities. Yeah, after 20 seconds of sterile nonsense, the opening ends with an establishing shot of the front gates of Santa Inc., with the show's title spelled out to us in gold metallic lettering that's welded onto the top of it.
Brilliant!
Don't get me wrong, it's nice to see a location that's actually from the show make its way into the opening, but this still gives me zero ideas as to what this show is actually about. Is it about what it's like to work for Santa? Is it about the inner workings of the North Pole? Is it about the life of the guy who manages this specific parking lot booth?
You don't know! You just woke up one morning and saw
Generic Christmas activities.
you stupid hack!
I do like how the theme song transitions into the actual episode, with the front gates opening and the camera going through them while we fade into the first scene of said episode. That's a good visual cue. Unfortunately, the only other good thing about this opening is the theme song itself, which is as warm and inviting as any Christmas jingle should be. Even then, however, it doesn't sound all that much different from the background music that normally plays throughout this show. So while it's inoffensive, it's also generic and easily forgettable. That's much more than I can say for the animation, though.
I mean, for a show whose art style was its saving grace, it's damn depressing how lifeless the animation in its opening looks. Some of the effects, such as the snowball hitting the camera lens and then melting over it and the penguin spinning, look decent enough, but the rest of the character movements look stiff and awkward. It doesn't help that the opening essentially consists of a single overhead tracking shot that ends on a glorified 3-second title card. Like, seriously? This was the most creative way you could show us these random scenes?
It's no wonder why most of the people who reviewed this show never mentioned the theme song, because there's nothing about it to mention. Now, if this were the whole story regarding this opening, it would still be bad. However, here's where things get infuriating. This opening only plays during the first episode. I'm not kidding! We're only shown this opening once throughout the entire series, and then never again. You wanna know how every other episode starts?
A cold open that sets up the plot of the episode, which then smash cuts to an abridged version of the opening, specifically the establishing shot of the front gates.
You heard me right. The rest of the show uses a glorified 3-second title card.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
To be absolutely fair, the openings of each subsequent episode feature short gags that hint at their respective plots, which is pretty cool.
However, it's not cool enough to overwrite the fact that this shortened version of the opening teaches us less than the full version of it. Yeah, the full theme song might suck, but at least it's a proper opening. I mean, what the fuck? Did the producers decide that having an opening was overrated? Why bother animating one then? Most cartoons only shorten their theme song if the plot of the episode is extra long and needs that screen time. And trust me, the stories of Santa Inc. do not meet that criteria. But if you still aren't convinced that either version of this intro are lazy as hell, then let me give you a brief synopsis of the show's plot.
Santa Inc. revolves around a Jewish female elf named Candy Smalls, who's the second in command at a giant corporation that manages Santa's Christmas deliveries, hence the name Santa Inc. Specifically, the show is about Candy uncovering the company's corrupt practices, such as doping Santa's reindeer with meth to make them faster, accepting bribes from rich families so that their naughty kids get presents, and whatever the hell's going on here. And ultimately using her knowledge of them to control the company after she gets snubbed for the position of Santa. Other side plots include Candy's underling, Devin, a kind-hearted but clumsy oaf who rises from being an unpaid intern to later being chosen to become the next Santa because of how well he gets along with children. He didn't expect nor want to be the next Santa, and the attention that comes from that hampers his own well-being and strains his interpersonal relationships. Then there's Junior, the egotistical son of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, who spends the series vying for the position of Santa by fighting Candy, whom he secretly has a huge crush on. Then we've got Candy's two best friends, a gingerbread housewife named Cookie and a female reindeer named Goldie, who begin to drift apart from Candy after feeling that her attempts to become the new Santa have transformed her into a completely different person. They've also got their own separate subplots, with Cookie going through a rough patch in her marriage, while Goldie gets frustrated with never getting to haul Santa's sleigh despite all the training she goes through for it as a member of Santa's B-Team.
Do you want to know how much of this information gets conveyed through the theme song? Yeah, none of this information gets explained to us in either version of the opening. Hell, if I told you to guess what the plot of Santa Inc. was, and you could only go off of the theme song, you'd probably think that it was a normal, wholesome show about the people of the North Pole getting ready for Christmas. Now, some of you may try to argue that this was intentional, that the producers wanted to bait and switch us with this opening. However, even if that's the case, one, we still aren't told anything about who these characters are, what their roles on the show are, or even any hints about what the plot of the show is actually about. Two, the bait and switch doesn't really work if you abandon the opening after the first episode and replace it with an abridged one that directly references things that happen in the story.
Oops.
And you know what? If the producers wanted to keep this opening as it was, they still could have tied it into the show by putting its characters in it.
Cookie could have been the one having a snowball fight with her family. Candy could have been the one decorating this Christmas tree with her family. Goldie could have been the one showing off her athleticism by figure skating. They could have tied this opening into the actual show so easily. So why didn't they?
We've got to have money.
Hey, listen. If you've got a better explanation for this laziness, I'd love to hear it. For now, though, there's only one thing to say about this show. Your theme song sucks! I'm Alex the Critic, and have a very Merry Christmas, everybody. Stay safe, and I hope that you have a wonderful time with whatever family you're staying with. I'll see you guys next year.